All right, we should be.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the Bears because I want to get your take on that Green Bay game because.
Yeah, right on.
You know what I forgot to do? I can't believe we forgot. We got to get the podcast to the gang. I mean, John's got it, but is he giving it to anybody else? So we got to. I'll give it to Andy. The boys will all watch it. Just to make fun of us, they'll watch it.
Yep, I'm trying to see if we're live on the internet yet.
We could very well be live.
My box says we're streaming. But
Your box says something.
my box is speaking.
You need to get a tech intern that like lives under the table or something.
It would be helpful because I have to do all this stuff live, and this computer I bought for $189 is.
We just ring a little bell. Chet, check the audio.
We're trying to get to our page to see if we're live, and we are live.
So let her rip, my friend.
So live, deep in the avenues, it's the DammitJim Show. Your distractor in chief, myself, Sideshow Todd. We have a great show for you. That's going to be a tough agenda. I think we'll start out with Vegas, as that's everybody's at the forefront of everyone's mind. Touch on the NFL. North Korea nukes. That'll be a good time, right, for everybody. Nuclear death. The current general lack of leadership that DammitJim is currently pissed off about. And then, of course, we have to witness the passing of good old Hugh Hefner. And, of course, Bears. So without that, any more gibberish from me, James, take it away.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the DammitJim Show. And today we're going to start off with, obviously we had a horrific event last night.
Indeed.
In Las Vegas, where at the current count, I believe, was 59. It was up to 59.
Yeah.
It was 58
Dead.
for a while, and then 59 dead, over 500 wounded.
Yeah.
As a American citizen took upwards of 13 to 23 guns. I've seen different numbers.
It was a fucking
reports.
lot.
He had a ton.
This is not just guns. These were assault rifles that he had modified to be automatic weapons.
Yeah. So it was an absolute slaughter.
Yeah.
And
you heard did you hear the video or the audio?
I heard some of the audio of the
They were playing it this morning on NPR.
Yeah.
And it was no doubt it was an automatic weapon.
Yeah, the speed of it was. And I've seen a couple of reports that there might be some. I've even seen that's how you can modify.
In 10 minutes. It's all over the internet. You can modify any AR-15 very quickly to make it an automatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's unfortunately, obviously there's an incredible loss of life and a lot of people that have been hurt, and it's done in a very spectacular way to get everybody's attention. So, of course, there'll be a lot of tension. And before we can even get out of the gate, everybody's scurrying to their polar opposite sides and gun control, and they're going to take our guns away and the answers, and everyone's saying, well, how's that working? It's already coming. You got Alex Jones has already said it was the deep state and the Bolsheviks.
Oh,
and he's not even...
What?
It's already there. And
deep state.
I think the problem, the larger problem that we have is the conversation is where is the leadership? Where is somebody that says up and says, okay, enough's enough. We're not talking about taking away weapons. We're not talking about destruction of Second Amendment. We're talking about why does a person have access to these kinds of weapons and able to do these kinds of things in the only country where this is possible. So, or where I shouldn't say it's possible. This is the only country where it occurs in the way that it does.
Well, it did happen in Sweden where that guy killed like 78 kids.
No, in terms of the numbers of times that it occurs, and
consistency-wise, for sure.
Consistency, it's pretty much
it's epidemic. And there's no doubt about it.
There's just. at some point, someone has to just quit, and everyone's now making fun of people in their prayers, which I think is it's understandable because when you send thoughts and prayers and then do nothing, people start to, I don't think it's fair to attack people who want to offer their thoughts and prayers and condolences. That's a mismark, but it's just more of it's the theater of it all.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's creating this theater out of some horrific event that I think you hit it too. It's not just a simple answer, right? I mean, yes, I agree. There's, I give you the example, and I've told you this before. Last time I went just to a sportsman's warehouse, essentially the Walmart for sportsmen, right? And on the desk, or on top of the gun case, is a 50 caliber sniper rifle, the same kind of military grade that a Marine or a Navy SEAL would use, right? 50 caliber bullet. Like, who needs that? Should not be available for purchase,
right?
That's completely impractical. There's no animal you would shoot with that because it would destroy the animal. There, you know what I mean? You hit something like that, it annihilates it.
Yeah, this is
one bullet done.
So you're saying that these are weapons of war.
Exactly.
Turn that thing down. These are weapons of war, being in civilians' hands.
So yes, there's a side of it that certainly we can have reasonable gun control debate, right?
Yeah.
But what I wanted to hit on, I was saying, is we don't ever step back and say what's pushing the button to get people to he's just crazy. He was a nice guy one day,
right?
Normal fella.
Yeah, well, this one's gonna get interesting because this guy doesn't fit the profile so far, in the hours we have. Right. He doesn't fit any of the profiles of the loner and all the typical, there's 7 or 8 characteristics that almost always come up in these situations. And
some of his neighbors said he was standoffish.
Yeah, but not the ones that knew him very well. The
right.
ones I was reading an article before we started the show, and again, we don't know very much, so we're pontificating. But like you said, it's like the trigger that makes this sort of thing happen. And the problem that I think that the gun control folks or the anti-gun control folks are going to have to deal with at some point when they actually have to step up and be responsible for their views is to say, okay, well, you have to deal with the concept that a lot of things have to do with access. The ease of access creates a lot of problems, and that's why most weapons are used for suicide. And the reason that they're used for suicide is because they're very easy to get a hold of, and because they're more deadly than other forms of suicide. They're more consistently deadly. It's instant. It's almost guaranteed. If you try, you're gonna people try to poison themselves. They try to cut themselves. They try to hang themselves, and then they have all kinds of other difficulties.
Pills.
Pills. They're trying to poison themselves on pills. But at the end of the day, that it's the fact that this gentleman could have this many weapons of this type and never raises a flag anywhere is where you have the concern. We talk about concealed carry and things like that, or even open carry, and everyone seems like they're for it. And you're like, really? What happens when you see a bunch of obvious gang members walking down the street strapped to the nines and it's legal for them to do that? Then you have another opportunity and you have a response to these things.
Don't they have guns anyway, though? That's kind of
the point is there's so much almost marketing and propaganda.
Not walk around in broad daylight. If the guns are illegal, they might have them, but they can't be walking around in broad daylight.
Well, you don't even have the opportunity to intercept at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw it here in Arizona when Obama came, and there were people with basically
AR-15s sitting outside his conference,
marching around on the street with these weapons, and everyone's like, well, that's totally legal, and that's totally okay, and you're like, that's not okay.
Right.
In a civilized society, there has to be some sort of rationale that comes involved. Like, if you're a farmer, then you almost definitely have a gun on your property. It's a tool.
Right.
If you live in a second floor apartment in Manhattan, what would your weapon be for other than personal? I mean, there's just it becomes a different mindset. He has a weapon that can be used for self-defense, but also has a practical weapon use. When you live in different societies, the norms are different and things change. And so, like you said, it's not an easy subject, but there's just so much more to it than we even get a chance to get into because of just the way it's been propaganda. And this is another example where the leadership just isn't there. People are popping up on both sides. You'll get the pleas for the whatever, and there is just no major voice that stops and says, okay, people in the middle, forget about what can we do? What are we going to do? Are we just going to sit on our hands again and just?
Where do you think solid leadership should take us in a situation like this. Like, say somebody, like, it has a reasonable voice, right? In this situation, comes in. What's that reasonable voice sound like?
Yeah. What does it say about weapons?
What direction? What are you gonna? Well, not just weapons, just in general. Like, because obviously there's a very human side to this, where okay, you have to provide some sort of, as a leader, some sort of condolences that fit the situation, which is horrific, right?
And there's a script that the politicians pretty
Yeah,
much
they
all
always
go
bring in
by.
the fucking Bible. It's just like they said they did the one with Bill Clinton, they did the one with fucking George W, they did the one with Obama, and every single fucking time. And guess what? Fucking Bush or whatever,
Trump.
orangutan face did. Yeah, he did the same thing. Quoted fucking scripture. I'm like, come on. I mean, it's just like it's so campy.
Right.
And unoriginal, like you have to read a cue card for this. Like this event, that to me that marks bad leadership, right? You have to read a scripted speech for this situation.
Right. Now, when it comes to leadership, I think I should clarify though. I'm not speaking about.
I'm not. Hey, what I want to say, it's not in terms of this is just an attack on Trump. All four of them did.
Oh well, yeah.
Well,
they do the same playbook, but the leadership has to come from a different kind of groundswell. One person, especially a political person, isn't going to make any inroads because just by the sake of being president, they're already polarizing because they're either Republican or Democrat. And boom, boom, boom. I'm talking about the groundswell of people in the country who don't rush to extremes, who just said, okay, at what point is this enough? I mean, we've already convinced people that they have to have weapons. This is
at least those lobbyist groups have. Those groups that have those influence over those people have certainly convinced them that at any point some black guy is going to bust in your house, steal your shit, and rape your wife.
Something's going to happen, and you need to make sure that you'd rather have one than not, and all those sorts of things. But they've ramped up this fear.
I mean, I got them.
And this is in a time when, statistically speaking, crime has gone down.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I mean,
I own weapons only because those people who NRA people own weapons. If they didn't have guns, I wouldn't have one. I mean, that is flat out truth.
Yeah. Well, and there's the typical escalation that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not letting that motherfucker be the only person in the room with a gun. I've seen these people. I heard them speak.
Right. So now, and that's what I mean about the leadership in the country. It's like we're swelling up about all of these fears, of what ends up happening 99% of the time with these weapons is either they're used on somebody, either themselves, someone in their own family, or some sort of domestic mistake.
Yeah.
Before they're ever used for anything else, or they don't get used at all. They just collect dust, which is what we kind of hope for. But there's a difference between, they talk about other countries where they have weapons and where they're required to have the training in the weapons and things like that, but they also store the weapons in an armory. They have a separation. No, I'm not necessarily saying that any one particular thing, like we have to keep our weapons in an armory.
Right.
But when you're actually advocating for people to be carrying their weapons around concealed all the time, what does that actually lead to? Well, we know that it leads to more just innocent people getting killed than being saved. Just the numbers, there's undeniable.
Yeah, look at Australia, what they had when they took away everybody's guns.
Yeah, no, they took everybody's
cops
guns.
I think last year they said cops shot like 3 people.
Right. Yeah. Oh, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
And the U.S. has to own it. But we're just going down the same road we've always gone down. And we're just this is just, if you think about the logic, if nothing changes, then it's just going to continue to happen.
But I mean, now that I have and I don't have anything, insane like these guys do with scopes and fucking laser sights, right?
Right.
Now that I have my guns, I don't want to give them away.
No, I don't want you to, and I don't think that people.
No, I'm feeling. I understand their feeling when it comes. Now that I have it, like, if I was on the other side of the argument, excuse me, I could see how you're right. As a thinking, intelligent person, I can see you're having less guns and certain guns being banned. I think it would probably be a good idea, but I'm not giving up mine.
Well, it's not even necessarily banning any kind of guns. I'm talking about the general conversation in the open. People live in soundbite world, and that's how propaganda works. It changes minds in these waves and swoops. It's I think socially as a people we need to come together and solve this socially without necessarily the government involved
or a politician telling us how we should feel.
Yeah, exactly. These people should start to understand that weapons they should be respected, and people should be taught how to handle them, and they should understand them, and they should also. It's one of those things where there just has to be this social understanding that not everybody in the world should be in possession of a weapon. And if they haven't gone through the steps to show that they're capable of handling it and understand what it means, then they shouldn't have. That's not going to prevent. Nothing's going to prevent all shootings as long as the weapons are out there.
Right.
And we're too far down the road, I think, in the United States to take away the weapons. I mean, that would not be a solution. because they're already out there. So it's a ridiculous idea. So gun control in that sense, I get where they push back against that, and I understand.
350 million people in this country, and something like 2 billion guns.
I don't know what it is, but it is.
In the
and they're owned by a small percentage because a lot of people have armories. I mean, people have 15, 20 guns, and they're not collectors. I mean, they are by definition because they have so many. But
every person I've ever met that had an assault rifle had many.
Yeah, and I can understand if it's an addictive hobby. But the point is that we as a population need to stand up to each other and change the propaganda and change the things that get said, and have a lot more respect for weapons in general. Because you're not going to stop this mass. The irony of this mass shooting is the one thing that probably none of those things are going to take care of. Because someone will always be able to do those sorts of things.
Yes.
But it's the gun culture that leads, like you said, what leads people to this point? Well, they're being taken down one brick at a time.
Right.
Guns were never discussed when I was a kid.
Right.
They were around, people had them, but it was never a thing for everybody because people realized in a civilized society didn't walk around, loaded to the teeth.
Right.
And armed to the teeth.
We grew up in Chicago. It was a little different. It was very, very different, the idea of having a gun. Mm-hmm. It was, I think, the right mindset. Everyone knew, growing up in the city, having a gun automatically puts you into a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
That could quickly escalate because you're in a place where you have to keep your wits about you, right? And if you were essentially going to have to commit a crime, right?
Right.
That's it. That's what it came down to. It was you were better off not even ever having one.
Yeah, and we know that
nobody else had any.
Well, that's the one thing that people. I mean, there's a lot of conversation that people get into about
Chicago
conflict and combat and protecting yourself and self-defense. And I listen to a lot of people talking, and the first thing I can say is, man, so many people have no clue as to what it means to be in a situation,
right?
Physical and especially in the civilian world,
right?
I mean, there's the military folks. I think who have been in battle, I think, have a very different opinion about this,
right?
Because one thing that I would profess and people to understand is no matter what kind of training you do, no matter what kind of weapons you have, whatever, if you're going to wind up in a conflict, which statistically speaking, if you don't go looking for one, is extremely rare,
right?
It's going to happen when, where, and how in a way you could never possibly fathom.
Yeah,
you don't know the arena.
Bang, bang, bang. Very quickly.
It's just going to be very, very quick. It could be somebody hitting you in the head in a bar. It could be someone busted into your house and who knows? It could be anything. It could be at a rest stop or someone sees your car roll up and they want to carjack you. You just don't know, and whether you're going to have that weapon or not is so. This idea that somehow it's adding self-defense once you leave home with your weapon, it's a whole different layer, and it's just like, man, you guys know that's not how it's going to go down. We don't know how it's going to go down. Nobody does. But people talk, and I'm thinking a lot of people are talking that've never been.
Oh yeah, it's like the armchair warrior there.
Yeah.
Never been to fight in their life, but they have 15 guns.
Yeah, and they're ready to go.
And convinced at any point, I'm going to draw. I'll draw. I mean, well, that's like the culture. I mean,
it's the culture. It's all social. It's all
Hollywood, all the violent movies.
Mm-hmm. But we're able to separate entertainment, I think, a lot more than what's going on in terms of the social conversation. What goes on in the people when they get in front of a microphone and say a bunch of things, and then it's been growing and growing. But that was my leadership thing. It has to it's a very difficult topic. It's not something that some president stands up and says the perfect thing and all of a sudden it's always going to be cured. It has to happen. It has to come from the people. It has to come from the people, and we need to stop glorifying guns. We have to stop.
It's so hard in this country.
It is.
Thinking how this country was founded. I mean, it's a big violent shithole.
Well, hey, they're I'm not saying that they're not a necessary thing and not going to be a part of our world.
Sea to sea.
But you don't glorify something that's having weapons and a lot of people. They're
we need to evolve, man.
They're itching for a fight.
They are. They're looking to prove they're a man.
So, all right, what else we got on the docket today?
That's enough of that crap.
I know it's a sad day. And then we lost Tom Petty, which is going to be
that was rough too.
Buried in the headlines because
I already had that horrible kick in the nuts in Vegas, and then not that it's the same.
Not that it's the same thing, but
it's shot.
It's like was something else going to happen now since it happened?
More of that.
All right, so
let's go on another happy topic.
Happy topics.
It's gonna suck until we get to Hef, I think. So
in the world. Yeah.
So maybe this isn't a sucky topic, but it certainly is a topic that involves a great deal of passion on both sides. It's the current NFL protest, which is definitely evolving from what it was as a protest of how African American people were treated by the police state,
Right.
Into Donald Trump, a protest of Trump, because they're all just like, oh, you're gonna,
Yeah. Man, what a mess this game.
yeah, why? And first question for Donovan is, why would you, a president of the United States or any world leader has no business having that kind of conversation with professional athletes? Like, you have bigger things to do.
Right.
Like, you are about to send this country into a global nuclear war, and you're fucking worried about what some NFL player's doing,
Yeah.
so that you can exude your own false fucking patriotism.
Well, that's. I mean,
fuck you. That is so selfish.
Because there's some very important people on both sides of this. I mean, a lot of servicemen have come out and said, I fought for their right to kneel.
Yeah.
Some will say, if there's injustice in America, then it's your duty to say something, to do something,
Right.
to make a protest.
Right.
And, in this kneeling before during the national anthem was, I also think, but there's, I think there's mistakes on both sides. I don't think it was handled well. I don't think the message was put out there very
Right.
well. I don't think they fought hard enough to say we're not, this is not a protest against the flag or the troops. This is, we're putting one knee on the ground to say, hey, America's not living up to everybody's
Yeah.
expectations. And they have a legitimate beef. The problem
Right.
is
Yes.
the legitimate beef never got the light of day.
No.
Because
Nobody wanted to hear that story.
No, because they were, and the thing about what frustrates me a lot is when people parade veterans out in front to sort of declare the strength of their patriotism
Right.
is better than your patriotism, and I love
yeah.
America more than you because and it's a bunch of, I'm sorry, but for a lot of people, it's BS. Now, for a lot of people coming from military family, believe me, I have firsthand experience with this. The national anthem, the flag, these are sacred things. And they should be
Right.
to all Americans if you understand what they meant to people at certain times. And that's why I don't like to see them protested, because I think what happens is innocent people get hurt by that.
Well, I don't see how taking a knee. I mean, I guess you're doing a protest, but I mean, you're doing it at a time when it is a deep, heartfelt, connection as an American,
Right.
right? And I don't know. What the fuck does it matter if you're taking a knee if you're sitting on the couch? Like, how does that matter?
Well, that was kind of my next point. Was
Yeah.
a lot of these people that have been pontificating about this stuff. I've been watching since last year when this happened, and what I
Right.
do is I watch, and you've been with me. There's during the national anthem, it's time to be quiet. And if you're not at the stadium,
Always
I'm talking
has
about,
been that way for you and I.
Yeah, if we're at a bar,
Yes.
if we're at some other location,
Or any other civilized people. But I know where you're going with it.
and
Go
I've
ahead.
actually said, hey man,
Yeah.
then, I've said to people, the national anthem's playing, and a lot of people go, oh, and they'll pipe
I've
in.
had dudes take their head off. I'm like, take your fucking head off. Right?
So, but most people during the national anthem are talking and
Yep.
ordering drinks and bullshitting around. I mean, it's not a sacred moment for them. But
No.
then they're the same people that turn around and get vitriolic about it.
Because it's a black guy doing it.
Maybe. And I think there's definitely an element of that.
Yeah.
But
Uppity
the problem
Negroes.
is, it's like, okay, enough of everybody being, think about snowflakes. I mean, okay, you don't like the protest. Fine. But what are they protesting? Let's move beyond all this.
But they don't believe that racism exists in society anymore because of, like, they say, oh, they've got affirmative action, everything's fine. Like, no, everything's not fine. That's why they have affirmative action. That's the way it exists, because
Yeah.
it's hard to get a job as a black dude.
Well, the thing is, I think even when somebody upsets you with the way they go about their protest, what doesn't really seem to matter. I mean, if you watch the news, they've been reporting on this more. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter how they protest. It's always wrong. Martin Luther King should have crossed a different bridge.
Sure.
He should have, that's always, Rosa Parks should have.
He sat in the wrong building for his
shouldn't have
sit-in.
done that for those people that were, coming home from work and tired. They didn't need to. It's like whatever somebody protests. Protest is supposed to piss people off. That's why you choose it.
Right.
If you don't choose something that's going to get a ton of attention, then you're really wasting your time as a protester. Not that they didn't do. I think they could have done a better job with this particular one. But like you said, it's moved away from being about the topic. Now it's a protest against Trump for sticking his nose or calling these guys SOBs or
Tell them they should be fired for their protest.
tell them they should be fired. And then then you got a lot of guys. There was a great Hall of Fame tight end on the news. Sounds like a reverend. Why can't I think of his name? Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp.
Yes,
Yeah.
Reverend Shannon Sharp came on and
Well, he's got his own show with, what's his name, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he does with the guy I can't stand. But
Nobody likes him.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Skip Bayless. But
Yes.
but
yeah. Nobody likes him.
he had a lot to say about it, and I thought it was really good stuff about how the fact that all these owners. And he listed off the owners that actually gave money to the Trump campaign.
Right.
Then turned around and they didn't have anything to say about when he made comments about the Mexican immigrants. He didn't have anything to say about the whole bus situation. He didn't have anything to say. But the first time he turns around and tells them what to do, suddenly they're outraged. Like this was it. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for you.
Right.
And it has to go saying, well, they were going after their thing now. You don't mess with the NFL.
Right.
Well, what about all the other stuff he did? And you supported him. So now here he is saying crap about you, which is completely, you know, predictable. And suddenly you have a stance. And he's like, I'm not buying that. You're just covering your own ass. You're just covering your own product. You're protecting the shield.
Right.
Because now it matters because he went after the shield.
Yep.
And I thought Shannon Sharp had a lot of good wisdom about that. And he was also knocking a lot of the guys. They're taking a knee. Why? They're protesting Trump. They're not protesting, why weren't you taking a knee about the way that African Americans get treated by police in this country, which is the issue
what Kaepernick was doing.
And the problem is I think a lot of people they don't think that is a problem.
That's exactly right.
And
they think it's false outrage on the African American community every time you throw the race card. Like because it happens every time they get arrested. Like how do you know what it means to be a black guy in America? How can you tell him what it's like to be black?
Right. And we've gotten to the point in this country where you can't even give somebody the benefit of the doubt if they're making the time to make a complaint that maybe they have an actual complaint.
Right.
You don't even hear the complaint. You dismiss them. You say, oh, they're just ... fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And that's not good public discourse. That's terrible public discourse.
It evolves very quickly. I mean, I don't see it. And two, when you look at the videos, like the Freddie Jackson, remember the kid that got choked out, the big guy that got choked out.
Oh, right,
like, when you looked at all these videos, even with the one with the big kid who got shot in Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, none of those people should have died in any of those situations.
Right.
At all. Number one. Right? And to say that those all being there, like there was the one in like North Carolina where he shot the guy in the back. The guy's running away from him. And he shot him in the back.
Oh yeah, he chased him. Well, and then there's the one at the traffic stop where he asked for the guy's ID. He reached into the car and he unloaded on the guy.
Yeah, point blank range.
And even when he was out of the car, he was still shooting. Yeah, because you got to wonder what's going through these guys' heads psychologically.
And every single one of these is a black guy.
Right? Well, right. But on the other side, and I think it's important to always bring this up, is like, police officers see another side of society that everybody else does.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, it's an interesting sociological experiment or study, I shouldn't say experiment, is to understand that a lot of times it's the black community that they have some of the worst problems with.
Well, sure.
And so they're
poor.
But that's the thing is like they're also socioeconomically suppressed, which happens, and it's sort of a self-fulfilling.
Crime is irregardless of color.
Yeah, but it has a lot to do with power.
But they just have to be the poor people in our society.
Yeah, it's just the way things always go in a society. It doesn't do anything with the color of their skin.
It used to be the Irish that were the bottom dregs.
Yeah, and they got the crap kicked out of them, and this is not uncommon. So that's why I said it's sociologically to study it, because it's not uncommon. This whole phenomenon is totally understandable if you take a step back and look at it from a much larger picture. But the fact of the matter is this stuff does go on. It goes on to innocent people, innocent citizens of this country, and they get treated differently, and very, very differently, to the point where they're now protesting. In fact, so at some point, take away from like the anger about the way it's being brought up and get to the issue, or don't get to the issue. But if you're talking about anything else, you've just wasted all of our time. And that's what we love to do. And here's the thing about the leadership thing I go back to again, is when are people going to realize that the whole point of this leadership is to get us to be on polar opposite sides so we fight with each other?
Yes. And we don't realize throwing propane on things, man.
Meanwhile, they're about to blow up the deficit because they're going to
that tax bill's never going to pass.
Well, they have this tax bills. You're like, wait a minute, what happened to the debt hawks? What happened to the fiscal conservatives?
Did you know that the guy who helped Reagan craft his first tax package, came out and said, "This does not work."
I think he said that during the Reagan administration.
This doesn't work.
They said the tax cuts didn't have spending cuts that matched them, and that why it was a disaster.
Well,
so they had to put all those stuff back in, which they did during the Reagan years. But this tax plan is a lot like what happened in Kansas. And it's sort of like...
Which was an abysmal failure to where they were trying to tar and feather that fucking governor before he got the fuck out and Bush... like you called him Bush.
Trump.
I'm sorry, George W. That's wrong. Sorry.
No, we're not professionals.
Yeah. Don't want to... You were way better than him. Anyway. Yeah. They wanted to tar and feather that fucking guy.
Well, because it's horrible policy.
Yes. Didn't work. More importantly, does not work.
No.
Fails every time.
Yeah, the economics of it. But we've, again, getting into society and leadership, we live in a society where it's, I want to go back to Kellyanne Conway's alternate facts comment, because I think that that's a little bit more profound than we want to give anybody credit for. And the reason I say this is because when I talk to
Trump's
people,
banging her?
oh God, no,
I think so.
no, not this, no. He's one of the most superficial people in the world.
Yeah, for an older lady, I mean,
I don't know where you're going, but I want to turn the car right now.
So that you were talking about something important. My bad.
I don't know where this is devolving to, but let's just pump the brakes. And
All right.
So, great. Now you just knocked me off topic.
Well, it's something to think about. Well,
We'll
add that later. Oh, she was talking about alternative facts.
Alternative facts, yeah, alternative facts. So what it is when I talk to a lot of conservatives, in preparation for doing this thing, and it's my friends when we go out and stuff, the one thing I realize is that we are literally working from a different sheet of music.
Right.
Like we get our news from a different source, and we are dealing with different what we believe are facts. Right? So
wait a minute.
So they have a different worldview that they call it now, but it's simply a different set of facts. For instance, you go into
wait a minute. First of all, now I feel that you're buying into that whole mentality that there are two separate sets of facts. There are not separate sets of facts. There are fucking facts.
Right.
Time and day, number of people, strategy, dollars and cents. Like these things are provable data.
Right. But if the news source that you're listening to gives you an alternate set of information or
let's call that what that is then. What do you mean alternate information? You mean it's not based on those things, solid data, then it's not it's wrong. It's bad data, it's incorrect data, it's false data.
So if you don't believe in global warming, you go to the websites, you go to the reports, and you believe the things that feed your belief.
Well, that's fine, but you're not working with the correct set, the data that proves all of those things that you're looking at wrong.
But what they believe is that the information that they're looking is correct, and what we're looking is incorrect. We believe what we're looking at is correct, and what they're looking at is incorrect.
No, it's not believe, Jim. It's provable science.
But it doesn't matter if it's science or if it's true. It depends on what we're believing.
But you're choosing to play. Don't you think then, in this regard, they're choosing to play ostrich, right? They're choosing to take a look only what they want to look at.
Well, it's a very common debate tactic to accuse the other party of doing what you're doing. So if they're playing ostrich, accusing us of playing ostrich.
How can that be when we're looking at all of the data? We're even looking at the data that they're talking about. It's not like we scone that and don't take into account.
Yes, you're very correct.
We do.
I'm not saying that we're wrong.
Right.
I'm saying that the people that I talk to are quite literally working with a different set of sources and information.
All right, different set of... All right, yeah. Let's just not call it alternative because it's not an alternative to the truth. It's bad data. Or they're only choosing to focus in on one little segment.
Well, they simply... If the New York Times reports it, they don't believe it. That's a rag, they've been told. It's a liberal rag.
How can they know? See, that's another issue is the lack of reverence for history. Because if you understood what the New York Times was since its inception, you would never think that way.
No, you wouldn't. And the fact that their journalistic integrity is high, and then when they come at me with other sources, none of them have their journalistic integrity to fight. Where is your journalistic
integrity? They were all created within the internet age.
And they're all, and they treat all of these sources as equals. And we're finding out. I mean, Zuckerberg just came out. What did they have? 3,000 different...
The Russians were all over Facebook putting out false news.
Yeah, and they were publishing it.
Yep, and they caught them doing it on the Vegas thing. They caught them doing it on the Vegas thing.
Right, already.
Yeah, and so let's keep going, but I'm going to get off a diversion on that. Go ahead.
But the point is when I've got people that are posting things and saying, interesting, and it's one of those reports, and you're like, there's nothing interesting about this at all, but you're basically saying that this has the same weight as, and this is our opinion, this is our view. What I'm saying is they, in their world, the people that I disagree with, believe that of what we take as sources, and they believe their sources are correct. And I don't know how anybody gets around global warming anymore. I just don't know how they logically get through it. But you've got people that are seriously going out there with the flat Earth stuff. I mean, idiocracy is coming at us like a train.
Dude, supposedly Shaquille O'Neal believes that.
I don't know, man. Was it Kyrie? Who was it?
Kyrie Irving and Shaquille O'Neal supposedly believe that for reals.
And
I mean, Jesus, they've been on airplanes. You can see the curvature of the fucking Earth from the airplane, you dipshits.
Well, it's, hey, they call it sea level for a reason, dipshit.
Oh, my God.
I wonder, so does that mean that the moon and the sun are flat too?
Probably. They're
I'm
just discs.
wondering how that
They're
works.
like little disc.
I guess.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's a little hole to heaven, Jim. You're seeing the light of God. You know that?
Well, I think what's happening to a lot of people is that they're just getting frustrated with the unbelievable level of bullshit that they have to sort of somehow accept and not just turn and go, you're just crazy,
Yeah,
stupid.
I'm done with that.
And so it gets really
Saying,
hard sometimes.
Accepting that, I just fuck you. That's how I feel about that. Because
Well-
if you're gonna play ostrich, we don't have time for that anymore. We just don't.
Yeah.
We are at the precipice of so many horrible things that could possibly happen. That if we just humanity is a fantastic organism. That it focuses positive energy on one thing, and it can do incredible things. We could solve astronomical problems. Populate the fucking solar system.
Build the Death Star.
Yeah, damn right. I mean, that at least be something badass, right? And it's frustrating when we just stick to these tribal. Well, they were important to get us to this point. This tribal instincts. And not see the bigger picture, not understand that your actions have actions that all trickle down to affect everyone. And it's bigger than you.
And then you've got people attacking education. I had one friend, and he showed me an article on NPR because I'm always telling him, listen to
Right.
NPR, go to PBS. You're going to see where very good high quality news reporting on
And they
things.
always have both sides.
They do work very, very hard. Mike, they've worked hard to maintain that and also not become a part of the news story. You very rarely will know who an NPR or a PBS reporter is because they go out of their way. And when someone does become too big for a new part of the news story, they get let go.
Right.
Juan Williams was the perfect example of that, and everybody said it was kind of an uproar, and they started attacking them. I'm like, well, no, he became part of the story, and that's just not the way we roll here.
Right.
This is a news reporting agency, and you're becoming, you put yourself, interjected your own self into this opinion, and that was against their very high standards. But he was reading this article, and it was interesting because he's like, well, how do I know this is just reporting? And I said, well, read the article, read the quality of the article. It had something to do with Donald Trump, some announcement he had made where he had doubled down on something he had said prior, one of his tweet things. The thing wasn't important. He's like, well, see, there's just an attack on Donald Trump. And I said, no, it's not. Read it. It's reporting. On October 1st, he said this and that. On October 10th, he said this and that. They're literally reporting what he did. He's the president of the United States. The things he does are newsworthy. They're reporting. There's no opinion about whether it was the right or wrong thing to say, other than to note that there was outcry about this particular thing that he said on October 11th. He reiterated on October 15th. I said, this is about as black and white news as you can get. Like, well, it's the way they say it. Like that's a liberal bias. And you're like, oh my God, man, I don't know how
Stephen Colbert, facts have a liberal bias.
Yeah. Well, when you believe in conspiracies or give conspiracies so much of the same effort, that happens.
Yes. Well, like you said, they are tuned into things, to the sources. Not so much that are alternative facts, but tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah, they get their red meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I quoted Trevor Noah, he almost lost his mind. And I said, I know Trevor Noah is red meat for me. I know he's red meat. I don't look for him as a news source, but I like his take on the news because it's funny, and it kind of rings. I think Trevor Noah's. You got to admit the guy's a lot smarter than you thought he was.
He's a lot better. I won't say that, but it still doesn't make me want to watch the show.
Well, he's not Jon Stewart. I love to watch the clips. I love to get all his clips. Yeah. I don't watch the whole thing. Sit there through the interviews and stuff. Although I thought when he interviewed Tammy Lauren, it was brilliant.
He does stuff that I've definitely watched on YouTube, but
I
don't tune in.
But he is
like
liberal,
I do with Jon Stewart.
But you will admit that he's liberal red meat. He's not.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
he's speaking to his generation, and they're all fucking liberals.
Yeah.
So.
They're speaking to his people and in our own. Yeah. That's not meant to be, but it's also not meant to be news. And his complaint is, and I can understand his complaint is that too many people get their news from comedians and not from hard news sources.
Right.
My problem though is when he comes back and says what his hard news sources are. I don't. He doesn't offer up one. I don't get one. It's like, well, Trevor's as bad as Rush, or I'm like, no. Or he thinks. I mean, this is an interesting question too, because Rachel Maddow is definitely a liberal.
She's red meat for
and
liberals.
he says she's as bad as Sean Hannity.
Oh,
and I think that's a real problem because, sure,
that's how they bill it on Hannity.
That's
so
how they
that's
bill it
how
on Hannity.
Yeah,
But,
that's they're just eating it up.
yeah, but Hannity will spin facts and change
Just
actual
fucking
information,
lie.
and
He
Maynard
lies.
doesn't do that. She puts a liberal spin on things. She
Right.
sees it from a liberal point of view, no
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. I mean, what is she saying that's factually incorrect? Whereas Hannity will use inaccurate facts all the time, and it's not hard to go out and prove that. So, But I had another good conversation too with Jim about he wanted to believe that this is a Christian country. And
Who's that?
Jim, the one
Oh,
that
that guy,
you called
man.
a cracker.
Yes.
Your buddy. No, and he's a good
He's
guy.
a nice
He's a
enough
smart
dude.
No, he's definitely a cool guy, and he's the one that the whole Confederate flag Southern Cross. He challenged me, and I went
Right.
back and I looked at it, and I saw where he was coming from, and then I think we came to a nice resolution on that,
Yeah,
or
we did.
agreement, with the fact that he's right that the flag didn't originally mean racism, but it does now.
Yeah,
and
too
it's all
late.
right, but you can't get around that. That's
Yeah.
what happens with symbols; they get co-opted.
Yep.
And I think after our conversation about the this being a Christian country, I think we came to an understanding as well. And that is, listen, our religious freedoms are guaranteed in the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Period.
But they specifically and going out of their way to leave God and church out of the Constitution because
Yeah.
they truly believed in a secular
Yep.
government and
Church and
freedom
state.
of religion. That is critical line.
Yes.
And
these guys were fucking, super Renaissance men.
yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And he goes, they're all Christians. They're all Christians. I'm like, no, they were not. And their writing specifically says
Benjamin Franklin was
not
a
just-
fucking atheist. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, sure. Were there Christians that signed the Declaration? Yes, there were, because we
course.
had religious freedom. People could be whatever religion. And then there was some questions about the Muslims, and that was where we really kind of got offline. Because listen, the Muslims have been around for a long time. Believe me, they knew who the Muslims were. We had the Crusades, for Christ's
Yeah,
sakes.
yeah, right.
It's not like the Islam language.
It just all of a sudden
was
popped
new to
up in 1980 with the Iran-Contra affair. What the fuck, man?
Trust me, our forefathers knew all about the Islams, all about the Muslims. They were just, at that point in their history, extremely poor countries because oil had not become a big thing, and they had
Well,
their
the
downfall-
Ottoman Empire had been smashed.
Yeah, their
Well,
empire had been
no,
smashed.
that's not true. It just wasn't. The Ottoman Empire is
But-
still healthy. Jeez, God damn it, Jim.
That's true.
Take back what you just said.
Yeah, I was mixing up my
Bad history on us.
bad history.
Yes.
Yeah, remember, folks, when you get angry, just remember that we suck.
Sometimes
at this.
we're not smart.
Yeah, sometimes we're not smart in our own
It's
brains.
rare. It
Skip
just happened.
pieces
Delete.
of history.
Delete.
not a complete delete, but
So anyway, yes, there was Muslims around, and it's sad that he didn't realize that they were such a powerful influence on world history for millennia. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
but our
it's-
conversation was, him and I understanding that no, this, even though there's a lot of Christians that live here, this is quite specifically not a Christian nation.
yes,
And it devolved ultimately to the.
we're always going to be a Christian nation.
Well, a lot of people don't even realize that In God We Trust didn't even make it on the money until like the 50s. Or I think it might have first showed up like in the 30s somewhere. But that was a
Yeah.
big religious push and a big political push. It was not originally on the money. It was not originally in the Pledge of Allegiance. That was added during the Red Scare for the most part, and it shouldn't be there. And they got away with it because they use God in a general term. It's not specifically aligned with the religion. I think that's how they legally
You don't
get
love
around.
God, Jim?
I don't think it's relevant to the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, it's not in the national anthem.
Fucking heathen.
It's one of those things where, the assumption that everybody believes in the same God the same way you do is a problem.
And then what I hate is the false horror in their face when you say you don't.
Oh, yeah.
Like you just smacked them. I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. So what's the name of your mistress? Oh, that's right. Okay, right.
There are good Christians out there
okay.
that live the way that the religion says they should.
Yeah.
And
So
no.
did Jesus drive that Lexus? Because I don't think he did.
No, and that's a part of the problem. Is they're few and far between.
Oh, Joel Osteen said it's okay to be a rich Christian. Well, fair enough. Seems to be working for him.
He's doing okay. And his new carpet in his church didn't get messed up, which is good for him.
Yeah, amen.
What else we got on the docket today?
Well,
Tearing it up, all kinds of depth.
North Korea is which I think it's crazy, with the news cycle. North Korea I felt like a few weeks ago, I'm thinking, are we going to start having, disaster drills again? Like we did in the 80s?
Duck and Cover 80s.
Yeah, because it seemed like we were on but I don't know.
Active shooter drills, maybe, but
Yeah, because, here's my, I think North Korea can get off a nuke. Right? They can get off a nuke that might reach here. Mm-hmm. Or it'll probably more likely hit Tokyo. Oops, that would be bad news. But here's the thing: there's absolutely interceptor missiles that we've given Tokyo, number one, right, or Japan. So if they can get off one, let's say get off one. I'm pretty sure there's enough interceptor missiles. I mean, we don't want to have to find out, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, thinking capability wise. With North Korea, right?
Well, our military capability, I don't think is.
We've got to have like 5 subs, like right there, to just could annihilate the whole fucking place.
Right. The problem is the jet stream and all the radiation that floats back over here after we do that. Plus,
Seoul's
Seoul's right next door.
Man.
Well, my problem with this.
Yeah, that'd be bad for South Korea.
It has a lot less to do with the military capabilities and all that. It has to do with this is why elections matter. This is why this guy that we put into the most powerful office in the world will probably lose its power because it'll be circumvented by the bureaucrats and by the other system, establishments that are going to prevent him from getting us into a nuclear war. We hope.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's like this guy is not.
He has his finger on the button that can blow up the Earth 3 times. Like, it's
terrible.
not just not voting for a goddamn woman or hating Hillary. This cocksucker can blow up the Earth 3 times.
Right. So we need to look. The larger picture is how did we get to a place where a man like that gets elected president of the United States? And I think it's an absence of leadership. I think it has a lot to do with what's happened in terms of the media and this social revolution of the internet. And now we're seeing the real consequences. And the only way to respond to this is to, we can't go back in time, but we have to realize that there's a problem. And we can't fix a problem until we admit that there is one. But this man being elected president was a problem. Before I used to say he was a bad hire. But that was that was our best possible way that you could describe this guy.
Right.
Was he was a bad hire. But now, the full level of danger that he can be to this country is starting to evolve. And this is becoming more and more serious. And the only thing we have going for us right now is that the Republicans are so incapable of getting anything done that they haven't been able to pass legislation that could truly, hurt us. But I don't know how long.
You know what the other blessing
until we get some different people in there, which would be nice if we could get some different people.
Well, we'll see what happens in midterms.
Hey.
But I think there's another positive, or one little other governor that's been put on the presidency, and that's Mattis. I like to think that he's got a loaded 45 at all times. And then anytime Trump goes too near that button, he just fucking blows his brains out.
Well, that's what I was, I'm kind of, now we're going to see, like, what is.
He's a Marine, you know what I mean? So this
system?
guy's seen real fucking war.
Or Kelly, his chief of staff. I mean, these are hopeful signs, but it's scary because you don't want to turn. There's a reason why we have a civilian government that runs the military.
Yeah.
And if you know your history about the military leaders of the world history, you'd know why that's always a kind of a good idea.
I mean, we had some good presidents. Eisenhower was fucking president. I mean, pretty good president.
Yeah, at times. I don't know.
Ulysses S. Grant. What?
Ulysses S. Grant. Well, he got taken advantage of by a lot of
he was pretty
people.
Yeah,
but I'm not saying. But then they were private citizens when they became president.
Oh yes, absolutely.
They were no longer in the military.
Yes, that's very true.
They were performing, and there's a reason that we just. I mean, if you go back through history and what the generals would say to presidents, it took a strong leader.
God, look at what we did during the Kennedy administration. My God.
Yeah, we would have been in a nuclear war if we left it up to the generals because
we
they
would
were
have
ready to
been
go.
overrunning Laos. We would have been all over, not just Vietnam. All over Southeast Asia.
Yeah, they were just getting all up in there. Yeah. Even during Korea, we would have been all up into that business. And some people say that's a good idea. And I'm like, well, I think maybe you should go back and look at the politics of the time before you make that call.
Or look at the places where we've dropped nuclear, the last few places where we actually allowed nuclear tests. Mm-hmm. They still really haven't recovered.
No, the thing is,
you don't really want to be setting off nuclear weapons. You just don't want to do it.
Well, it's just one of the.
It's not going to affect. That's not like a bomb, and it makes the little hole, and that's the end of it. That's what people think war is, and it's never going to be in my backyard.
Well, I don't know what people would think that, but sometimes when they talk, I agree. They don't really understand what they're saying.
When you unleash a nuclear weapon, what that means to the planet.
Mm-hmm. But this kind of goes to one of those interesting shows that I saw about the how it was about extraterrestrials and why we've never seen one. And
Right.
one of the scientists' contention was that, well, by the time a society like ours, and we're approaching this point, develops the technology you would need to go across interstellar space, they usually use that same technology to blow themselves up.
Right.
So that's why nobody ever sees anybody else, because
Yeah, there is that line of thought why we haven't run into anybody, because they've accelerated past that point and destroyed themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Boom. Somebody turned it into a weapon, and they won.
Everybody's dead.
They won their war.
Right.
So yeah, leadership again. It's coming
Yeah,
back.
you kind of tied that in
I like that. Maybe.
with the all those topics, so it was good. So we don't really need to explore it by
Even if we
itself.
mutilated the history once or twice. Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I was a little more worried about it 2 weeks ago than I am now. It seems that
Worried
I think
about-
North Korea. I think that they realized that the saber rattling. Well, what started to happen? I got to give China a lot of credit. China is complying to the UN sanctions and cutting their business ties with North Korea, and I think that means more to North Korea, far more than this verbal war with Trump.
Oh yeah.
Like they've backed off. They've stopped launching missiles over Japan as of now.
Yeah.
Now it could change tomorrow, but as of right now, I mean, and how many do you think they got? I mean, how much can they really afford?
That's a good point.
I mean,
Well, they were selling a bunch of weapons to, what was it, Libya that we saw? Where was that? They just caught in.
in that movie?
No. I'm talking for real. There was a shipment of arms being sold by North Korea to some other ally of ours.
Really?
And it was like, what?
Oh, shit.
What's going on here? I think so. Unless I'm,
How do they
senility
even-
now.
How do they even get steel?
I don't know.
Jesus.
I'd have to go back and.
You gotta have people who actually eat to make stuff.
You got to wonder what's going on with that whole situation. It's so much more. That's why I don't like to get into this, too much into like specific policy, because there's so
Right.
much we don't know as citizens, and we never will. And unless you're sitting in that chair, you don't truly know the situation. So all
Well,
can
have
do
you
look at
seen
this
any of that? What do you mean? Like what's going on in North Korea?
Like specifically, like how many weapons we have?
Oh.
Do we have intercepting missiles? Would they work? What would the nuclear fallout?
Oh,
Who would
yeah,
get
yeah.
hit? We don't know those details. We just kind of know that this,
Yeah, when
this-
it comes to those kind of weapons, it's not. You can't buy those. That's good news.
Yeah, well, the night's young. Yeah, it's one of those things where I just knee-jerk reaction whenever I see someone on TV. I'm like, well, the answer is probably going to be more guns. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to come out and say we need more guns. When
Everybody at that Jason Aldean concert had a weapon.
Yeah, well,
They'd have shot that fool.
it's hard to be, because I said this 20 years ago when I was first starting to have this conversation. It was like, you see what the logical end of this is going to be.
Yeah.
And this kind of things are going to happen more and more. And there's other ways to deal with it. Is why does it get? It has to get reported, but part of the problem is the publicity that they get is also one of the draws for a lot of these
That's
people.
exactly right.
And that's why they want it to be spectacular. That's why terrorists
They
attack.
go into a book of all the other dick faces that have done the same thing.
Yeah, but at least they're on the map.
Yeah.
If it's a bad map, they're on a map. And when you
Yep.
feel, that's assuming this guy has that sort of helplessness and just have no affluence of the world, or whatever, that puts you on the map.
Yep. I mean, and this guy was affluent. So this guy
That's
had
what
a
this-
life many people would envy financially.
That's
anyway.
why this is very strange. Like,
Yeah.
none of this is adding up yet.
Yeah.
So
So
it must be the
he's-
deep state. Let's just jump to that conclusion.
Well, no, I think it's he was still. That's what people struggle with, right? We're sold the Michael Jordan syndrome. The Horatio algebra. Either we're all going to be a superstar, or we're all going to be rags to riches, right? And that's just going to make that's just going to make everything fantastic. Like then you're just somebody,
Right.
right? Well, as we've seen, that's not the case. You see people make it fucking waste themselves all the time, right? So you don't. The magic ring isn't a magic ring. Like this guy obviously had made it. Right. For first, he was in the 1% essentially financially.
Yeah, he had
right.
he had a lot of money, and
It wasn't. And it didn't do. And it didn't provide. It didn't fill the hole.
right.
It didn't make him Michael Jordan.
Well,
Right. Nobody even fucking knew who he was.
money doesn't buy happiness.
No.
And that's an old cliche.
Right.
But it took me until I was much older to realize that. I talk about this all the time. It's like when I was younger, I had a job opportunity at the University of Illinois. which was going to pay me a decent salary, but I'd be working for the university.
Right.
And I had a boss, Ed Slasnick, great guy. His brother was a Wall Street trader. You know, did all the Wall Street stuff and made all the Wall Street money.
Right.
And he was busting his brother's chops about working as an administrator at a university. And he's like, you know, yeah, I'll never make the kind of money my brother makes.
Right.
You know, and he's having his martini lunches and he's done at noon because he made so much money in the morning and blah, blah, blah. He goes, but, you know, I work at a university. My health care is all taken care of. I can buy a beautiful house for $100,000. I can raise my family in with a neighborhood with good schools. He goes, I get summers, I only work half time. I get winter break. I get spring break.
Right.
I can ride my bike to work every day. I can play on softball leagues, bowling leagues, whatever I want to do. And he goes, I have a very, very charmed life. He goes, and I'll be comfortable for the rest of my life. I'm never going to be a multi-billionaire, but I'm never going to be, you know, have to worry about anything because I work for a great university system that has great benefits. And as long as I do my job well, and he was pretty high up the food chain at that point. He goes, I'm going to be comfortable and my family's going to be taken care of. He goes, that's all I ever wanted in life. And I look 10 years younger than my brother already. And at the time, I thought, you know, I thought it was just a great speech because later in life, when I look back about that job opportunity that I turned it down because I was just too ambitious. You know, they were talking about making $35,000 a year, and I wanted to go off and do much bigger and better things. Right. Blah blah blah. And I mean, I've had a good run, and I've had a good life, and I made some good money, and I have a good business, and all that good stuff. But now that I'm older, I'm like, you know what? That life that Ed described, that would have been a beautiful life if I would have had the mentality to say, hey,
but you never would have enjoyed it then.
I couldn't have enjoyed it because I didn't have the life experience to know that was a goal. Or like a really good goal. But how much more fulfilling could my life have been? I don't want to compare. That's the wrong thing to do is compare. But what I'm saying is that is a really valuable thing. But that doesn't exist with people. People don't have that sort of. There's no not all people, but it's not out there in the market. It's not what we're being taught. We're taught to work more, work harder, work through holidays.
You need it bigger. You
need a bigger car. You need a bigger house. You need to.
And it takes you, like you've come back through the other side. A lot of people don't. Like I have two. You know, like I'm not into that. But you still, you come through the other side, but then you come to a realization that, you know, you do have to have some sort of money. Like you can't just decouple yourself from the system. It's pretty impossible unless you make it big. You know, you have to have that steady income. You got to find that.
You definitely need to have a steady income, and you need to find a way. But a lot of that way has to do with just being fiscally intelligent. I mean, so many more people I know could retire, but how many people have no money in their savings account? How many American citizens actually rely on Social Security to pay their bills because they never made enough, or more importantly, they never saved enough to support themselves later in life? These are financial tools. This comes from driving the same old beat up car for years and years and years and years. This comes from you carrying no debt because you chose not to. Not that you have the financial ability to live at a much higher level than you do. But you choose to live down, well within your means. Or the idea of living beneath your means is like foreign to everybody. And it's a shame because this is just technique.
But I buy my shorts at Target.
You buy your shorts at Target. I'm not saying that, like I say all the time, you don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard. You want to spend some money. Or richest woman in the graveyard. Anybody you don't want to be the rich, you don't want to be in the graveyard. But when you do get there, you look for the perfect fill. Like you literally need to spend your last $5 on the casket that they put you in, or to pay for the torching or whatever.
Just light this, buddy. Here, kid, light this.
I'm tipping you $5.
Here's $20.
Make sure I go up in flames hot.
Hit this button,
and then it's the perfect fill. But or you're gonna leave something behind. But the point of the matter of all of that was that and even in a way, Dirty Jobs guy Mike, that guy. He kind of hits on that a little bit. I disagree with some of the ways he's going about it, but I still like him a lot, so I don't want to disagree hard. But it's sort of like, you don't have to be, like you said, you don't have to be Michael Jordan.
You can't be Michael Jordan.
And you won't be Michael Jordan.
Most people will never be that.
It's the same thing. It's not taking away the American dream of being whatever you want to be. It's like saying, hey, your dream doesn't have to always be about money. We have literally, the capitalism has become, forget about religion and Jesus Christ. Our God is money. And you can tell by the way people behave when it comes to money. That's the real motivator. Right? And that's understandable because it's an important tool, but it's just a tool like anything else. It's good to have a big supply of it.
Yeah, you're just bombarded all the time by these messages that if you're not, you don't have the big car, you don't have the big house, you're just somehow missed the boat. You're one of those people getting left behind, and most people are those people. It's a dangerous message. There's an equilibrium for everyone. As far as consumption, as far as success, like you can still have lots of good things, right, and still be successful, and pay your fair share, right, so that schools exist, things like that. I don't know. And then at the same time, like people aren't taught that, I like to put it in the context of like, so there's Christopher Columbus. Well, you don't hear the names of any of the motherfuckers that sailed that boat. They were just as intricate to him getting there as he was. Right. Right. But somebody has to sail the fucking boat. Yeah. Right. And that's the reality of it. And there's still honor and integrity and, good things in that. Yeah. Right? There you can find some context for your life, and it's great. Yeah. Like you're alive. You live in this place of incredible abundance, right? And you have incredible upward mobility. Right. Right. And even if you get a little of that, that's more than 90% of the planet gets. Right. And I'm not trying to convince people that they shouldn't go for the brass ring at all. Right. But I'm trying to convince people maybe that, especially the younger folks, is stop the capitalistic, influence on what you think is important. Temper that. Make sure supposedly millennials aren't as wrapped up in this. Well, that's when people are getting on their case about it, and I hope that's true, because it's an important next step in human evolution to realize that just because it makes more money doesn't make it a good thing. Right. There's a problem in a country where a guy that can return kicks makes 100 times more than a surgeon. Or a school teacher, right, or any of the other 10,000 jobs. Now, obviously, there's it's a supply and demand thing, and that's always going to be that way. Right. But it's gotten to the point of absurdity. Yeah. And at what point do we step back and go, "This is a complete absurdity"? Yeah, that contract that Russell Westbrook signed, $200 million. He's going to make something like $20 million every season. And everybody talks about whose money. Where do you think that money's coming from? Guaranteed contract. Yeah. Guaranteed he's going to get $200 million. Yeah, we can't afford a peanut butter sandwich for the kids in a poor neighborhood for lunch, Right, that dude's we need to cut school lunches, but somehow the country can afford to pay a guy $200 million to throw a football. No, true basketball. Russell Wilson? Oh, Westbrook. You said Westbrook. Yeah. I'm sorry. He makes a lot too. Yeah, I was going to say, he makes $10 million. I was going to say, I don't think Russell Wilson has a $200 million contract. No, but he makes a lot. Yeah, I think he's got an $80 million contract or something. Yeah, they just had to pay him because they got him for super cheap because of the rookie deals. But they just had to pay him. But obviously, NFL quarterbacks don't. Yeah, they all make a lot of money too. Yeah, they do okay. Yeah. They don't make as much money as their NBA counterparts, but there's a lot more of them. So maybe. Yeah. And they also don't have to work as many days. Although the days that they do work almost kills them. Right. So there's that side of it to consider. The near-death experience you have every Sunday, 17 times plus 16 plus playoffs. Plus all your grade school and high school and well, they don't let them tackle anymore. Do you know that? What? But he was telling me his son plays high school football, and they don't they don't tackle in practice. He goes, the first time they do live tackling is in a game. He goes, why do you think they're all so terrible? He goes, hell, they don't really work them that hard when they practice. The practice includes their weightlifting time and their stretch, everything. Not like us, where we just came and they just killed us for however many 4 hours, and then if you wanted to lift weights or do extra training, that was on your own. We had to do it in my school. You had to do it during you were essentially drafted into the gym class that the football coach ran. So you lifted during the school day, your gym class. Oh, okay. And then off season, then you'd lift after school too, and then during the football season, so then you'd lift during gym class, and then you'd do practice after. Well, during school, during off season, we had the lifting was in the morning before school, so that was 6 a.m. Right for lifting, and then gym class was put at the end of your day, and you were pretty much dismissed from it if you were on the football team, and then so you would just go straight to practice Or if you got out early, you go to a study hall waiting for practice to start. So we didn't have. I don't remember having gym class. Once I was. That wasn't mandatory in the 50s. No, it wasn't mandatory in the 50s. But we swam naked in an all-boys school. I had keys to the elevator though. Yeah, that's fucked up. They don't even tackle, man. I mean, that's pussification of America. I mean, you don't do any damage until you're older. Just fuck.
Well, it is, there's definitely, it's tough because, you're hoping for.
Sad.
What am I clicking around looking for? Didn't I have a.
All right, well, let's move on to something else.
Hold on did I just close?
Let's go to.
Cats and dogs sleeping together. What happened to my.
You got the under control or what?
I don't know. Hold on.
Where's the bell so I can ring for our intern?
I think we need the intern.
I think we're going to need more people to watch before we get an intern.
I think Google crashed on me, so I don't know if we're still alive.
Oh.
Let's see here.
Google crashed? So you're not tape. You got your thumb drive in there, right? Isn't it recording it?
Yeah, it's doing that too. But we were live. Oh, still says live now.
All right then, Jinx. Minor technical moment there. We're beyond it. So let's go on to Hugh Hefner.
All right, let's talk about Hugh. A
giant in the world of being a man, Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
So, I started my relationship with Playboy back in, actually when I got out of college. It was the one magazine I subscribed to. It was, number one was cheap. It was like $12 for the year.
Right.
And, what I loved about Playboy, in general, it was the stance that they often took, beyond, they were really far ahead in a lot of social issues, and there's been a lot of debate. People were just calling him a pimp and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But as someone coming up who didn't have a lot of, people reinforcing, the male aspects of being a man, right, in a positive way.
Right.
That's what that magazine did. It said, you're okay to, have these feelings, to be a man, right? To want to be big, to want to be strong, to want to be powerful.
Right.
You just do it with style, do it with grace, right? Be a gentleman, right? But you are powerful, you are strong, and that's something you should foster, right? And don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed that you fucking fart. You know what I mean? Don't be ashamed. You know what I mean? It's okay to essentially to be a man. Like I said, now it was with, as a gentleman with style, grace, poise. Like it was to be debonair, but still be powerful. Manly.
Right.
And that's what it did for me. As far as it helped. I think make you into a gentleman almost, a modern gentleman, right? When you actually read it.
So you're the guy that actually read the magazine?
Fuck yeah, I did.
I knew there was somebody out there.
Asa Barber. He was the one of the main columnists who was very much wrote in that vein.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a relationship with the Playboy magazine as a kid growing up, other than the few times I saw the few magazines.
That's the thing. I didn't even jerk off to the magazine. It was just naked chicks. Give me a break.
Yeah,
it wasn't really a nudie magazine. It was just
Well, the thing is, it sort of evolved from being like the most risque thing,
right,
to being the least risque in the genre.
Right.
It's like it went from one to the other, and of course, Hugh Hefner was an icon of, I think there's a lot of social stuff that he did, that. He was, proponent for homosexual rights. He was a proponent for women's rights, believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people said he would objectify women, and he would just say, well, you should ask the women that are in the magazine how they felt about it.
Yeah.
Because he felt that the women were beautiful and men appreciate women's body. He had a very male view of sexuality.
Of course.
But he also, empowered women to a point, but he also objectified them when he would marry 3 at a time or whatever. But I think he was trying to
well, he was also selling something.
He was trying to sell something, and he was trying to sell that sex is just sex, and this Puritan society, which we're basically our Puritan society, was so Puritan that it needed to be broken up, and I think that was part of his. It wasn't dumb luck. The guy, he had like 11 investors. He had to get money from to do the first magazine, and he was an entrepreneur, and he put himself in harm's way a lot of ways because he was breaking a lot of taboos, which is what strong people do. Whether or not you believe in what he put forth and what it led to, because it led to the Larry Flints, the Guccianis, who got into the much more pornographic side of things, which upset a lot of people. He never seemed to be. He always seemed to be one step ahead of the curb. Like he would he'd keep it out of the gutter. you
Right.
know, and make it more about being human and not about just about being sex. And it was just an interesting guy. But he was also, you know, involved in a lot of heavy parties. There's a lot of great stories about the parties that went on in his house.
Sure.
Legendary stuff that
Right.
mere mortals don't get to ever see or experience. But
Well, you know, he also like you said, he was against the form of the time. You know, number one, and he breaking down that barrier that there's something wrong with a naked woman. Like it's something that should be revered. You know, nakedness should not be something that we are hiding and be, have this ridiculous Puritan thing that we need to cover.
yeah,
That this is, he was railing against that, and the same thing with being. There's nothing wrong with not, following the traditional path of a man and a wife.
right.
Right? There's an alternative, and it doesn't have to be horrific. In fact, well, I mean, he obviously he made it, he made it fun, right? And
Right.
awesome, but he broke that stigma that the only path was that path. Like you had to be,
Yeah.
Wally Cleaver, that you had, or you were,
The sexual norms.
you were deviant.
And then,
Yeah.
and even with women's right and women's lib, because if you remember back in the time when he started this magazine, I mean, a woman's place was in the home.
Yep.
And you see all these like good housekeeping articles that people put up now that say, how a woman should behave, and basically treated her husband like, he's royalty,
right.
And don't make sure that the children are clean, that there's
Right.
no fuss when he gets home. So it was completely, misogynistic in the way that the world was,
Right.
And he was breaking that apart. So there's a lot of good that he did, and he's an icon. He's an American icon, and he's one of those people that's going to leave his mark, and he changed the world that he lived in.
Yeah,
In
and
a lot of ways, the better. And
Yeah.
some may argue against some of the things, but like
He was called a pimp multiple times. He was called a pimp in The Guardian, and I was like, that's a real basic description without a whole lot of forethought.
It really
or
is.
understanding what he did.
because it's taking away and it's applying different actions.
Right.
Whenever you call somebody a name like that, like a pimp, you're taking all of the negative connotations of pimping and you're applying it to that person.
Right.
And you want them to stick.
Right.
And that is not a fair or accurate description of the man.
Right.
Just because there was some concern about whether or not he was exploiting people, or whether they were choosing to be
And
exploited. They were.
They were in competitions to be in the magazine.
Yeah.
They sent in their photos. He didn't hunt these people down. He didn't dupe them into doing something and then do a switch and bait. Right? Everyone knew what was going to happen when they submitted their pictures to Playboy to see if they were going to be chosen, and they were paid. The Playman of the Year got like $100,000. There was always opportunities. So many of them, like Brooke Burke.
Why don't you finish your? Because we're at our break.
All right, hurry up then, so we
I
can
waited
finish
till-
up and do with sports. So anyway, think of all the famous playmates that have come out of that. Have went on to have, obviously Pamela Anderson, Brooke Burke, Angela Eckhart. Name a few that have gone on to do great things that they wouldn't, not great things, but become celebrities well beyond just taking off their clothes. And I'm sure Jenny McCarthy. And without Playboy as that springboard, their careers probably never went anywhere. So lay off the have. R.I.P. brother. I'm sure you're up there doing some pretty awesome shit because, that's what's going to happen. You're going to go back up to the great consciousness. So enjoy, brother. Safe trip. So with that, Jim's tottering back in, and we're going to just go right to sports because it's getting fucking late. So I'll let you, since it's your show.
Go Cubs, go.
Yeah, I'll let you give your little thing on the goddamn Cubs.
Goddamn Cubs. The goddamn Cubs are one of the best second half teams in the major leagues this year.
Easy.
Well, they were only 2 games over 500, and they finished with 92 wins.
I'm lucky their division sucked.
There we are, because
Their
we're the
division
worst.
fucking sucked.
Maybe it was just very competitive.
That's right.
We had very competitive division.
I'm a glass half full guy, that's for sure.
But hey, they came back.
Half empty.
We'll see. Really, it's going to come down to the pitching.
Yeah. Well, you got Quintana. You got the nice little pitching staff that could.
Yeah,
And Scherzer, I guess it's hurt. I heard Scherzer's hurt.
Yeah, they're going to move his start. It looks like.
Yeah.
But we have no clear number one. At this
Well,
point.
I thought I saw a little headline. It says, "Is Hester back?" So Lester back. So he must have had a good outing recently, right?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, he had a good outing.
Sure, the old man will pull it together.
Saturday? Yeah, because Montgomery Park shoots on Sunday. So, well, that's the thing is you got the old man. He's a master. And you have a lot of people peaking at the same time. I mean, Schwarber, holy crap, he hit a ball. And
He should. He's giant.
he's a giant, but he's actually hitting the ball with the bat, which he wasn't doing much of the beginning of the year.
Right. A lot of
But
Ks.
since he came back, his average was through the roof and his slugging percentage is through the roof. So it'll be nice.
They were predicted to win it again for a reason. They've got a shitload of talent. There's no reason they shouldn't be one of the best teams in Major League Baseball.
300-game winners this year. Dodgers, the Indians, and who's the third one? Somebody else.
Houston? Yeah, it's got to be Houston.
I'm pretty sure it's Houston.
Yeah.
So you got 300-game winners out there. So you're gonna have
maybe it's the Nationals.
playoff start tomorrow. What's that?
Maybe it's the Nationals. Yeah, I don't really like
Nationals at
let's
like
just
97.
my little final on the playoffs. I'm glad I like the wild card team. I like the 3 divisions in the wild card. I like that.
Yep.
But I do not like the extra wild card game and the extra wild card team.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, the Rockies have done nothing to earn that. They didn't win they didn't just barely lose their division by a game or whatever. You know what I mean? They clearly were the third place team in a really good division, right? And they have no business, in my opinion, being in the playoffs, right? It's like, and the Diamondbacks have killed it all year long. If it was any other season, they win that division easily, right?
Right. So they deserve to be there, but the second.
But they could lose in one game. In baseball, it doesn't come down to one game. It's not like fucking basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, it's interesting because, the baseball playoffs is one of those sports where, baseball isn't designed to be played in a 3 or 5 or 7 game series.
Right.
That's not the way the game really works. So it's almost like you work all year to build your team to win over a year.
Right.
And then the playoffs come and now you have to play a new game. Like
Right.
It's almost like you play football for 4 quarters and then you have a ping pong match to see who wins the
Well, it's
game.
not quite that different.
Well, I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with sports that have shootouts and things like that.
Yeah, hockey, yeah.
You should just play until, at least baseball, you keep playing baseball till somebody wins. You don't change the game into a home run derby or something.
Right.
So but with baseball, it's the one sport where the playoffs, where football,
But I'm fine with 7 games. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That 7-game series in baseball makes sense. 1 game does not.
Yeah, 7 games is only series that even begins to make sense.
Yeah.
Because it's team against team, and you're going to see all the pitchers. You can go through your full 4 starting pitchers. So you got to play the whole team. A 1-game series or a 3-game or a 5-game series, you can steal those things.
Yeah, in the
just
1
by
game
having
series?
a couple of good pitchers. Where in the regular season, you wouldn't be able to keep up with that team.
Right.
So it's weird. So you have to build your team separate differently.
And you start your number 1 guy because you got to.
Yeah.
So you start Greinke for them. He's lights out. Well, now you go into your next series against the Dodgers, and you got to start your number 2 as the first game.
Right.
Which, luckily, Diamondbacks have a pretty good pitching staff. Right. So the number 2 is not like that big of a drop off. Yeah. But you start already down a guy on your rotation that the number 1 seed doesn't have to do.
Yeah. Well, I think the purist would say then the answer to that is to win your division, which of course you've already addressed. But
right, it's 3 division winners and a wild card.
The pure sports fan, though, if you can look past that, it's nice to start off the playoffs with 2 game 7s. Because it's basically win or go home for 2 teams right out of the gate.
Yeah, but then also it pushes the playoffs until fucking December. You shouldn't be playing baseball in November. I'm sorry. you just no.
I hear you. Baseball's gotten very, very long for.
Yeah.
But you know what I like about baseball
it's
is
cold
that it is
in Cleveland in November. It's not fun to play baseball in the cold.
Yeah, I could definitely do with a shorter season.
Yeah.
To accommodate the playoffs and have better playoffs. If you're going to have that second wild card team, make them play their way in. Not.
Right.
And I've had a few other people with different thoughts about instead of having the 1-game playoff. They were saying, why don't you take the 2 teams that are vying for it and make them play in a season-ending series? So there's no playoff game at all. They just rematch up with. So let's say it was Dodgers and it comes down to there's games left. Okay, we're going to play a 3-game series at the end of the season to see who gets. So it's not a 1-game deal.
Yeah,
that was his idea. I'm I don't care. I like the 1-game playoff. It's exciting.
Fine.
It's fun. It sucks if you're the Diamondbacks because you're the ones that are basically putting it all on the line against a team that you clearly beat in the regular season.
Yeah.
So you have to beat them again. in a one-game playoff.
And played better throughout the season.
It seems unfair.
Yeah.
I get you that. Let's get to
the Bears.
The Bears.
Bears. So I want to talk first about Green Bay because I felt like when in the first half of that game, the Bears were very much in it in the first half.
Okay.
And I don't know what
we spot them 14 in the first quarter.
Well,
but beyond that,
still exactly.
And we were still in the game.
Yeah, they were driving. I think it was they'd scored that one touchdown. Anyway, they were driving, and there was some egregious, what I thought, pass interference calls that the Bears did not get. That any other team with a competent passing game gets automatically.
Right.
Like the guy came through, was pulling his arm back, number one, and the ball was still in the air, right? No penalty, and that was like a third down play,
right?
And I mean, guaranteed Patriots. That's fucking first down, right? Any other team,
yeah. Well, the Bears had to win the game twice last week, because of bad calls, but yeah.
Did you see that? Did you feel any of that when you watched the game?
I felt like the Bears played so bad that I wasn't really even focusing on the bad calls.
I was with you in the second quarter. It didn't matter at that point, but or in the third quarter. But in the first half, I'm like, shit. If they get some of those plays are so huge. For a team. Well, this is the thing with the Bears. They have such a slim margin.
Yeah.
Like those things become significantly more important than for teams that are good.
I think that's probably true, and yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with some of the calls, but I was so much worried about the Bears, like, the fact that they hiked it into Glennon's knee.
That's so like that was the Three Stooges, dude.
What's actually my buddy texted me and I said we're the Three Stooges, man. This is hilarious.
I did that.
And
I
almost
texted you that, jackass.
Wait, did you?
Yes. It's like watching the Three Stooges.
I thought I sent it to my friend.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know what's going on in my brain.
How many beers were you in at that game?
Was it Thursday? Oh, yeah. That's when me and my cousin went out. We had a good time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So when it leads to what happened then, the big news out of Chi-Town, of course, is Trubinsky is now the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Trubinsky is now the starting quarterback. They're going to put him at Monday Night Football. No pressure there.
Against the Vikings, who are pretty fucking good defense.
Well, there's no bad team for 3 or 4 games, so it's like, well, either you hold on to Glennon for another.
I would have just played him for the next 3 games. Let the kid play out the second half season.
Yeah, I would have waited till you have much more of a softball. But
yeah,
we're not the coach, and I'm surprised Fox didn't change at all. I mean, to be honest with you, because as bad as the numbers were for Glennon at times, I'm like, well, I'm still, not quite. I mean, yeah, there was a couple of passes in there that were
like how is the ball off his knee his fault?
Exactly.
That was not his fucking fault.
Yeah. Well, then there was the one before that snapped all the way to the right. He barely caught that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you gotta plus there's no receivers. Like, who's he gonna throw to?
Yeah, that's the thing. The kid's going to come in, and he better be really comfortable with the tight ends.
Because he's going to have Zach Miller. He's going to have Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, I hope he's got good chemistry with Cohen.
Jordan Howard couldn't catch.
Yeah, he's not the best receiver.
No. I mean, hell, the Bears could be 2-2 right now. So hold on. Can we be 2-2?
No.
We could be 2-1.
Yeah, they got killed by both the Tampa and by... Oh, they could have. Yeah, they could have. You're right. They could have beat Atlanta. You're right. They could beat.
Yeah, they could beat Atlanta. Yes, they could beat 2-2.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. There was another game in there.
Yeah, that was a giveaway.
Yeah, Jordan dropped the ball
at the goal line.
At the goal line, and hey.
Then that other guy, Bellamy, dropped it the next play. So or Thompson, whichever one of those.
Which one was it? I thought it was
grocery baggers.
Yeah, they would.
Essentially, they will be after this week.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So they're going to bring the kid in.
And
he's got nobody to throw to.
And now we got no excuses anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think what stemmed it, or what stoked this was, Deshaun Watson had a huge game.
Yeah.
And
we could have got him.
Yeah. Well, he could have got. He went 6. They could have. That's the point when I sent you that text today. He didn't have to trade anybody pace, and he could have got one or the other.
So Trubinsky needs to come in and look like.
Yeah. He better at least look competent with bad receivers. Like he doesn't need to do what Watson does, because Watson's got, again, he's got Hopkins, right? He's got Fuller, right? He's got some really good weapons.
Yeah,
and they got a really good tight end too. I can't think of his name. Where the Bears don't have an Andre Hopkins or DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, like an All-Pro receiver, right? No. And Will Fuller, and that kid's knocking on the door. He's just, wicked fast. He was awesome at Notre Dame.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we've lost all of our top receivers and traded away the other ones, and now we've got the basically the
Tanner Gentry better be pretty good.
So we got
I wonder if they're going to play him because I guess he that's who he had a really good rapport with in the preseason.
Was it?
Was with Tanner Gentry.
Okay.
So if that's the case, you better get that fucking kid in there. What do you got to lose?
No, they got nothing to lose.
No.
That's why I didn't think they were going to put him in this year because it's like, why put him through this?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, put the Gentry kid in there too. Get.
He's got Howard and Tariq Cohn to
At least both the guards are back too. That's good. Yeah. They got Sutton and Long back, so their offensive line is essentially intact, 100%. And they'll
Who's
have
going to play center for us next week? Is it going to be?
Oh yeah, I think that kid got hurt, right? Whitehead.
Well, he was the one he's the one that came in when was it?
Well, it was the same guy. It was the same starter, unless he's hurt. Cody Whitehead. He's the starter.
Cody Whitehair was the starter. Was he the one that snapped into his knee?
Yeah, it was just some bad snaps. Which
Okay.
he didn't do it all last year, so I don't know. Maybe because Glenn's like a fucking tree.
Maybe, I don't know. Or because he was coming forward too, so I think he was changing the play, and I don't know. It's bro. If
it only happens to the Bears.
If it was an isolated incident, that'd be fine. But we almost had a ball hit another freaking defensive back during kickoff play.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
That almost hit him
during the punt.
Yeah, during the punt, and
oh, that was so bad.
Not to mention that the very first
that happens on other teams, but what never happens on other teams, and then it shoots 10 yards the other fucking.
Well, it's happening all at the same time. It's hard to be a Bears fan right now. It takes.
Like I said, the bright side is the offensive line is intact, so they should have had a whole week to play together. They had a whole week to practice together. So hopefully that they'll open up a lot of run lanes and take pressure off the kid. Run a lot of bootlegs. They got because he's real athletic. So I don't want to hear what I do not want to fucking see is if they just straight drop back him and shotgun him all the time. Fucking roll that kid out. I don't want to because that's what they did to Jay in my opinion. That's what they fucked Jay. Everybody knew Jay was better on the run.
Yeah.
Did the Bears ever roll him out? Did the Bears ever bootleg him? Fucking no. Hardly ever. Especially that one season when they had Madman Martz.
Yeah.
Never ran a bootleg, never, because March was like, no, this is this is his great fucking system, right? They almost got that guy killed.
Yeah.
Well, so let's use that kid's strengths.
I think it did kill Mark Bolger.
It did kill two quarterbacks. It almost killed Warner.
Yeah.
Took him 2 years to recover.
Yeah.
And then the Cardinals were lucky enough to get him. And it did. It ended Bolger's career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So roll the lad out.
Okay, well, next Monday is going to be a big game.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to be, I don't know where I'll be, but I'm going to be watching that game.
God, is it daylight savings end soon? For the love of fucking God.
Is what going to end soon?
Daylight savings, right? It doesn't end until October or November now, right? When does it end?
I don't know.
Because the 3-hour time difference is shitty for TV.
It's like November.
The game starts at like 5:30.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard for you because, by the time you get off
I wear
work,
the shackles of corporate America.
You're working for the man. And the man says, no, you cannot watch no fool's ball.
Yeah, I mean.
So I don't know when it ends, but they shortened it. So it's like, I don't know if they shortened it on the fall side or the spring side. So I just know that.
It was part of our energy policy in the Bush administration.
Was it?
Yeah.
Daylight savings time? That was
extending it.
Oh, extending it.
Making it longer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good for us. I just don't know why. I don't even know why we have it.
It makes no sense.
Not anymore.
The Indian saying was the Native American saying was best. Only a white man can cut off the top of a blanket and sew it to the bottom and call it longer.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Amen.
Amen. Oh, so many observations about Americans out there.
Well, on that note,
it's
time to go to bed. It's late.
All right, this has been episode 10 of the DammitJim Show.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Hold on, I got the music going. We can't end too quickly.
Play that funky music, my boy.
There's not going to be music because you know what happened.
That's what you turned off in your technical difficulties?
When it's well,
I think everybody knows the show's
there was
over.
a crash.
Show's over.
All right, so we're going to, just
Be
imagine.
safe. Have a good week.
Yeah, have a good week, everybody. We will see you next time on the DammitJim Show. That's us. And
Peace.
Come on. It crashed again. There it is. Are we live? Are we Memorex? Click.
That's pretty good.